Welcome to my third installment of our interview with Al Kabus. Al, it's a pleasure having you back. Your insights are always valuable, and it's always great to hear your thoughts, not only to share with me, but to share with the people who are viewing this video. The topic for today is losing sales renewals. Losing sales renewals is very, very painful to an organization because you can have a very healthy win rate on new sales, but if you are not renewing the business that you have, you can directly erode the growth that you could achieve by not winning renewals. The hard part about renewals and the painful part is that they could make that should have been avoided. The biggest reason for losing a rebid is past performance. 20% of all of the accounts that we have evaluated have cited past performance as a reason for defecting to a competitor. This impacts larger deals most significantly. So what this does is we find it erodes value and it opens the doors for your competitors. In fact, we find that clients have more confidence in the competing organization than they do in the company attempting to retain the business because things have just not been performing for several years over the course of the agreement. So Al, with this as background, imagine you're leading a major sales organization and you're preparing for a rebid on one of your most significant pieces of business. You've heard anecdotally from your account team, and perhaps you have seen some metrics that indicate, yeah, there are some performance issues, but you're not fully alerted to what exactly is going on. So 2 questions as you lead your organization into this pursuit. Number 1, how should a corporate leader direct the sales team to overcome several years of performance gaps? What can they possibly do? How would you coach them? And secondly, should other talent be involved in correcting these issues and be part of the sales process? So with that, turn it over to you, Al. Share your thoughts and love to hear what you have to say.
Sure, Rick. It's good to be back and look forward to sharing. A few things. There's different lenses to look through, as you suggest. There's the sales lens and there's the corporate leadership lens. Looking at it from a broad sense, we all know annuity business, as you said, is the most important business because each year you don't have to climb the mountain from zero, the sales mountain. And keeping that business is a much lower cost of keeping annuity businesses than it is going out and finding new business. And we all know that, especially given these crazy times we're in with the COVID-19 virus. So a few things to think about. One is the relationship from the salespeople's end. I always pushed our salespeople not to get so comfortable that they're uncomfortable asking the basic questions that need to be asked every year. For instance, if I had a relationship with you and you're my client, and we end up socializing and getting to know each other well, maybe playing golf or going on a bike ride or going out to dinner with our significant others, what happens is you get so comfortable in the relational aspect that you forget to touch base on the business aspects. It's almost as it would be interpreted as an insult to you that I would ask you about your business because we're buds. And what happens so often in those scenarios is that comfort leads to someone else coming in and acting like a business person and embarrassing you because you didn't take care to get to continue to know your client, because everyone changes. I call it the beach movement. When you get into the ocean at the beach, the current takes you 100 yards away and you look up, you don't see your blanket anymore. It's the same thing in business. You have that relationship, the company changes, the client's world changes, and you didn't take the time to invest yourself as a business person. I think that's number one, one of the biggest flaws I see. So how do you keep a process in place, either through a CRM system or good coaching from your leadership team, to make sure every year you're checking in, or even more, that you're checking in and knowing your client, knowing their world, knowing what's changing, knowing if you're still adding value? Because oftentimes the flaws that we're talking about, or the things that don't go quite right with the client, may be because you're providing old solutions for new problems and you just didn't get it. So that's number one. The second thing I see is that, and this is probably one of the largest things I've seen over the years, is that we focus on what has gone wrong with the client, but we haven't taken the time to understand what we actually did right for the client and what value that added. For instance, how many times did I get my client out of a fire when they needed something shipped really fast, or they forgot to order something, or they're in a lurch because they have a problem with their client and we can bail them out as a trusted resource. Those happen all the time, but come the bid or the annual renewal, the client is more focused because they're getting all the complaints from different departments about what may have gone wrong and what to watch for, but we haven't added any value to all the things we did right. So
No,
those
well,
are
that
two
brings
things
up
that,
that brings up a really key finding that we see in our evaluations, and that is that problems persist as perceptions for a long time. We oftentimes uncover issues from client leadership about our client, and our client would later say, "We addressed that months ago."
right.
Has not been effectively communicated to the people who really matter. And they have these perceptions of things happening a year ago that in their mind are current.
Couldn't agree more. And that is exactly the speed of communication. And the onus is really on the sales professional delivering that and making sure that they're surrounding the project, surrounding the client, making sure purchasing or facility planning or whatever area you hit in that company, engineering, understands that not only did you solve a problem, but you may not have caused it. So reputation, as they say, can be controlled if it's communicated effectively well. Rick, and you know this from doing work outside so often, is that there's lots of flaws that come up in the order of things. We always hear we lost something on price or we lost something because of this. All those things are a bundle that it's being in touch and being aware. It really goes back to the first point I made, is doing that. And it's the sales leader's responsibility to make sure that they're reminding the entire food chain within their sales force to stay focused and to really make sure, are you adding value? Would you recommend, do you think you've earned the right to get the business again? If you were starting from scratch today and you didn't know your person, or if your person gets promoted or moves to another company and you've just built a relationship but not delivered the value, do you think you stand a good chance to be the incumbent moving forward?
Al, your original point raised an interesting thought. And your point was you get so tight with the person on a personal level, that you've connected with your client at that level, that it's very difficult to have the business discussion when you also have that relationship. We've all had that. But that points then to the importance of being high, wide, and deep. The lead sales executive being comfortable involving others from his or her organization into the account. Oftentimes, we encounter account executives and sales executives that think of it as their deal, but it's really the company's deal. And I think that can help address that issue of that relationship, which is important. I mean, you have to have camaraderie to be partners. But to your point, that can get in the way of truly directing the business.
Another great point, Rick. The sales professional in charge that has responsibility for an account, I look at that person as the CEO of that relationship. Even if I'm the CEO of the organization, I've always said, you're the point of the arrow. And the more that individual understands how to leverage the resources within the organization to be profoundly impactful to that customer, the more stickiness you get. Salespeople that want to own it and feel like, oh, I can't share anything because that gives me the leverage and power, have it completely wrong. Mm-hmm. It's actually those sales reps that understand how to orchestrate a finely tuned approach and sustainable approach to that customer. They're the ones that win, and they even raise the value. Their stock goes up in the customer's eyes because they can tell they're taking all the guesswork out. They're being completely comprehensive and understanding how to approach that client, from credit to functional delivery to logistics to ongoing issues that come up and creative solutions. That complete salesperson has the most profound effect on keeping annuity relationships. I've seen it time and time again.
I love your comment about the salesperson being the CEO of that deal. That is really a cool way of thought, and we don't hear that very often. And I think it takes uh, comfort from management to enable their sales teams to think like that. But indeed, that's what it takes. That's a great analogy.
No question about it. And I think if you stick to those three things, again, don't let yourself build up so much varnish, relational varnish, that you don't strip it down and reapproach the customer as a business and understanding where they're at this time so you can maximize your effectiveness. Two is being the point of that spear into the organization and being the CEO and organizing your resources behind yourself. And three, come bid time, make sure you weigh in and value all the times that you delivered exceptional value and even additional services that you never got the economic value for. When you add all that up, you have an excellent chance of retaining those clients and being salesperson of the year.
Al, thank you so much for your thoughts. This has been very insightful. And again, it's always a pleasure. And we could probably talk for another 2 hours on this topic, and maybe we will at some point. But I think for what we want to get across to people driving sales, this is ideal. Thank you so much, Al.
Rick, have a great day. Great to reconnect.
Okay.